Hi guys, this is section 2.6, Proving Geometric Relationships. Here we go. So we're going to start off with, per usual, some vocabulary terms, and we'll move into some more ways we can use algebra. So 2.3, right angles congruence theorem. All this says is that all right angles are congruent. Well, we know a right angle is 90 degrees, and that is every right angle. Thus, it would make sense that all right angles are congruent. Their only option is to be 90 degrees. 2.4, congruent supplements theorem. If two angles are supplementary to the same angle, then they are congruent. So let's talk about what this really means. Okay, so I'm going to label two angles here. So I've got angle 1, and I've got angle 2. Okay, angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take angle 2 and I'm going to copy it over here. So here's angle 2 again. I'm going to make an angle supplementary, again, that adds up to 180. We're going to call that angle 3. If I were to overlay angle 1 and angle 2, so this angle and this angle, they would be the same. Because they both have to add up to 180, and angle 2 is going to be the same, that would mean angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Beautiful. Congruent complements theorem. Again, same idea, except these are just going to be complementary to each other. So, I've got angle 1 here, and this is angle 2. Together they're complementary because they add up to 90. If I were to copy angle 2 over here, and then make an angle complementary to that, and label that 3, angle 1 and angle 3 should be the same measure. So we'll write that over here. Angle 1 should be congruent to angle 3. All right, linear pair postulate. If two angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. It's kind of by the definition of linear pair, right? Here's going to be a pair of angles that are a linear pair. Two angles that share a leg that form 180 degrees. Angle 1 and angle 2. If I were to add up angle 1 plus angle 2, they should add up to be 180 degrees, which would be supplementary. Vertical angles. This is saying all vertical angles are congruent. So let's go ahead and draw a picture of that. So there's one line. And the more exaggerated you make these, the more obvious it really becomes. So, for example, this angle and this angle are vertical. We'll call that angle 1 and 3. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. We could do that with the other vertical pairs here. So we'll label that angle 4 and angle 2. So angle 2 is also congruent to angle 4. All right. Let's try some examples in ways that we can now apply this. All right, so here we want to find the value of x. Well, we had literally just talked about in theorem 2.6, so I'm going to write that here, that vertical angles are congruent. Because vertical angles are congruent, this one and this one are vertical angles, so we're going to set them equal. So I have 3x plus 1 is equal to 148 degrees. So I'm going to minus 1 from both sides. So that gives me 3x equals 147 degrees. I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. So that gives me x equals 49. Now always check to make sure that you're answering the question. Here our question was find the value of x. And we decided x equals 49, so we are good to go. All right, let's look at 2. 2 says, hey, here's a diagram. I'm going to give you the measure of angle 3. So right here is 128 degrees. Okay. From there, find angle 1, angle 2, and angle 4. So I'm going to write that over here. Angle 1, angle 2, and angle 4. Just so we make sure we answer all the questions here. All right, so because angle 3 is 128 degrees, angle 1 is a vertical angle to angle 3, which means those are equal. So that means angle 1 is also 128 degrees. Now, we kind of move our way around the figure here. So angle 3 and angle 2 form a linear pair. They're supplementary. Okay, so because they are a linear pair and they are supplementary, so that goes back to kind of 2.8 there. We know that angle 3 plus angle 2 should add up to 180. That means angle 2 is going to be 52 degrees. Now we can apply those vertical angle theorems again. So angle 2 and angle 4 are vertical angles, which means this is also 52 degrees. There's a number of other ways you can think about it. You could also say 3 and 4 form a linear pair. Thus they're supplementary, which means they add up to 180. So we could say those two would be 180 minus 128 to get to number 4. You could do the same thing with angle 1. Angle 1 plus angle 4 are supplementary. Angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary, linear pairs. So a bunch of different ways we can kind of work our way around that. All right, let's look at the third example here. Find the value of x. Okay, so once again, we've got two angles here that are vertical angles. So let's go ahead and solve for x. We know their vertical angles are equal, so we're just going to do 4x minus 3 is equal to 101. All right, and we're going to go ahead and solve that. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So that gives me 4x equals 104. Divide everybody by 4, which leaves me with x equals 26. Let's go back and make sure that we're answering our question, which is finding the value of x, and we found the value of x. X is 26. Perfect. Last one, find each variable. So here is very convenient that our vertical angles are the same variable. And here you can see this one is both y. So because we've got vertical angles, again, we're just going to solve them equal to each other. So I have 4x equals 6x minus 26. Okay, we'll go ahead and solve this first. So we're going to minus 6x to both sides. So that gives me negative 2x equals negative 2. Divide both sides by negative 2. So that gives me x equals 1. Okay, now let's go find our y's. Again, vertical angles, so we can set them equal. 6y plus 8 is equal to 7y minus 12. Let's go ahead and solve. So I'm going to minus 6y to both sides. So that gives me 8 equals y minus 12. Add 12. There's a bunch of different ways you can solve these. This is just one way. So that gives me y equals 20. Go back and make sure we're answering the question. The question asks us to solve for both variables. We have x equals 1 and y equals 20. So we are good to go. All right, this is the end of chapter 2. Our last section, go ahead and do whatever activities is listed above. If you've got any questions, please check back with me. Bye, guys.